up, guys? It's Skill Up here with my weekly vendor reset video. Very excited to be back in the chair doing this one. I've made a bit of a change this week. I've actually added timestamps to the description below, so you'll be able to just get a quick look at what's available and then jump straight back to that if you're at all interested later in the week. If you like that, drop the video a like. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe now because I do these videos every week. And with that, guys, let's get straight into this week's vendor reset video. At the weapons vendor in the base of operations, there's an OK Pro red dot sight. It's rolled with critical hit damage, headshot damage, and critical hit chance. It's nice because it's 3 damage stats, but it's particularly good because it actually is a smaller type sight variant and it'll fit in things like an MP5 or an MP7, stuff where it's generally hard to find a good scope for. So there you go. At the Dark Zone gear vendor, also in the base of operations, there's this Police M4. Now, I don't think this is good, but I'm going to mention it because I know people are really keen on M4s. It rolls with Swift, Competent, and Brutal. Swift is not great on an M4 because it actually has a pretty quick reload time already. Competent is not good in a second slot because it has a very high electronics requirement that most of us are not going to hit. And Brutal is really easy to hit in one of your first 2 slots. It's kind of wasted in this 3rd slot here. So yeah, many of you are going to be asking, Skill Up, why didn't you mention the Police M4? I mentioned it and I really don't recommend you buy it. At the Advanced Weaponry vendor, the only thing worth talking about this week is this thing right here. It's this Omega Rifle Suppressor Tan. It's rolled with headshot damage, critical hit chance, and accuracy. Reason that I'm pointing this out to you is because it's just pretty much almost perfect, except for that accuracy down the bottom. The headshot damage in particular rolls at 18%, and the max roll in it is 18.5%. So it's right up there, really close to the top range. Headshot damage is one of the most efficient stats that you can get right now since crit has been really nerfed. So I'd really recommend checking out this suppressor. It's probably going to be an upgrade for you. All right, we're not even halfway through the video yet, but already I'm going to call this the purchase of the week. At the special equipment vendor downstairs in the terminal, there is an LVOA-C with Vicious, Deadly, and Destructive. Now, let's just break this down a little bit. Vicious gives you 10% critical hit chance if you have more than 2 health segments, which is very common in PvE. It's less common in PvP, but at the same time, if you are engaging a target and you're starting the fight and you have a bonus 10% crit on your side and you drop Pulse or whatever to stack even more of it and you've modded for crit, it's a lot of burst damage in those opening moments of the engagement before the enemy starts damaging you back. So it's a really, really nice talent in a lot of contexts. Secondly, we have Deadly. Critical hit damage is increased by 15%. This synergizes extremely well with Vicious, but at the same time, Deadly's not a top tier talent anymore. You may want to look at something like Responsive if you're doing PvP, or perhaps Prepared if you're doing more PvE, or any number of other talents that might work better for you, or even perhaps Brutal, for example, if you're talking about PvE. A lot of stuff works better than Deadly. However, it's still a nice slot there. It's still a really nice people are waving to me. What's up, dude? It's still 2 people are waving to me. Hello there. It's still a really nice talent, and it works really well. Finally, in this slot, we have Destructive. Armor destruction value is increased by... Stop waving at me, my god! Armor destruction value is increased by 15% when using this weapon. We know that this is a top talent now. It works in both PvE and PvP. It's just fantastic. So overall, this is an extremely well-rolled LVOA-C. You may want to change that Deadly, but other than that, you are good to go. The very last thing I would point you to while my 2 friends are still there waving at me is this Vertical Grip Wolf Grey. It's really nice because it's got 43% optimal range, 4% critical hit damage, and 4% reload speed. This works really well on SMGs, particularly with the defense gear set, which I'm sort of releasing a video on that this week, finally, or this weekend. And I actually use this in my SMG all the time because it synergizes extremely well with the fact that with the defense gear set, you're quite slow, you're immobile. So having your SMG have that extra optimal range is super helpful. At the special blueprints vendor this week, we have a fairly interesting haul actually. First of all, we got the classic RPK 74, which is the same weapon archetype as the Pecan. So you could get that. It was up a few weeks ago as well for purchase. My advice to you is probably just to purchase the Pecan. It's a really well-rolled weapon. It has higher base damage than if you crafted one of these. That's one of the things that they do to named weapons. They up the base damage on them. So for that reason, I probably wouldn't recommend this blueprint. Next up is the converted USC, and this one is the new SMG that was released in Expansion Patch 1.5. It's the one that rolls with the Ambusher talent. Increase your damage by 10% against targets in cover. I do not like this talent. I think the weapon is cool, but I think the talent is very underpowered, and I think you're always going to have to roll that away in that third slot. But the good news is it's in the third slot, so when you do roll it away, you get something else for free. So it's not too bad from that perspective. So yeah, pick that up if you need it. There's also Stamina Gloves Blueprint, which is really good if you're chasing a savage roll on a pair of gloves. And finally, there's a Performance Gear Mod Blueprint here. This one is the one that just basically rolls a random performance gear mod. I actually don't like the way this is done. I much rather get my performance gear mods from vendors because I know what I'm buying, as opposed to just rolling the dice and getting one of like 20 possible performance gear mods, of which they will have different stats, and so you could get it, it could roll terribly. So anyway, I don't like these, I don't buy them. I always get my performance gear mods from vendors. At the Autumn's Hope Safehouse this week, those of you that are running the defense gear set will probably like this Ballistic Shield Damage Resilience, so long as you're using that set in PvP. It's definitely overkill in PvE, you really don't need it. But yeah, anyone trying to sort of melt your shield in PvP is going to have a harder time doing it if you've stacked 4 of these. At the Wolves Den Safehouse, there's an L86 here. It's okay. It's rolled with Brutal, Meticulous, and Talented. So obviously this is focused more on someone that's, you know, skill power build, someone maybe running Tacticians or Reclaimer, giving you that bonus 15% skill power when you kill a target. Not too bad. Meticulous is probably wasted on this weapon, given that it's got a fairly quick reload time. So you probably roll that one away for something else. And obviously Brutal is a nice pick under most circumstances. At the Cavern Safehouse, there's a fairly well-rolled operator backpack here that has Specialized on it. It's got base firearms, it's got armor, and then it's got bleed resistance, which is obviously great for PvP. If you're more PvE focused, you may want to re-roll it to, say, ammo capacity, as I do here. But Specialized is a bit of a linchpin in a lot of builds right now, so if you're chasing a good Specialized backpack, this could be for you. At the Meat Locker Safehouse, there's a custom M44 here, which is not too bad at all, actually. It's got 161 headshot damage, which is a nice roll. It's got Dominant, which I'd recommend rolling away. Destructive, which we've talked about, is nice. And it's got Discipline. Killing a target will make your next shot with the weapon be an automatic critical hit. A guaranteed crit on a custom M44 on, say, PvE targets, if you're really lining them up one after the other. This is a nice sort of rhythm to be able to achieve with this weapon. So I quite like this combination of talents. If you like the bolt action style of weapon, which I certainly do, then check out this one. At Camp Hudson, the starting area, the weapons vendor here is selling an L86, but I don't like it. It's got Deadly, Accurate, and Prepared. I'm only mentioning it because it kind of looks like it would be okay, but it's actually not. Deadly doesn't synergize well across this weapon at all in terms of its talents. Accurate is just not needed with an L86 because they become so accurate over time, and Prepared is 30 meters of engagement with this weapon, which is possible, but it does require some pretty precise aim, maybe for PC players. Possible for console players, they're going to struggle a lot more. Plus, it's kind of wasted in that third slot. You really want Prepared up in the top 2 slots. You want something else in that bottom one. So I would give this one a hard pass. At the Last Call Safehouse, there's a Tactical Org here, which is not too bad. It's got Commanding, probably roll that away. In fact, almost definitely. It's got Brutal, which is nice. It's got Deadly, which is pretty good on an SMG, given that you are building for crit and focusing on crit. But yeah, look, it's not a fantastic weapon, but it certainly does the job. Roll that Commanding away, you'll probably have yourself a fairly decent SMG. At the Grindhouse Safehouse, there's a suppressor here that's rolled triple damage stats. It's a large type, so it only really fit on certain SMGs and on things like an LMG or a assault rifle. It's got critical hit damage, critical hit chance, and headshot damage. I personally would prefer something that's stacked on a lot more headshot damage, but for those of you looking to really go deep into crit, it's not too bad at all. Bonus 5.5% headshot damage in that third slot is okay. At the East 46th Street DZ checkpoint, there's a prototype performance mod here that's rolled for Sticky Bomb damage. Sticky Bomb has been nerfed since the one-shot Sticky Bomb came back. It's been fixed, but Sticky Bomb there still works, and obviously if you're looking to stack as much damage as possible, this is the best mod for that. At the East 42nd Street DZ checkpoint, there is a Ti-Rant suppressor here. It's one of the small type variants that fits on things like an MP5, MP7, 93R, etc. It's rolled critical hit chance, optimal range, and critical hit damage. Actually quite a nice roll, particularly if you're focused on PvP or burst damage. At the East 40th Street DZ checkpoint, there's a surplus SVD here. It's rolled capable, brutal, and disciplined. It's okay, this one. Capable really isn't required on on an SVD given just how like crazy stable they are and how much accuracy they have at the base level. It's got Brutal obviously, which synergizes extremely well. However, this has a really low headshot damage roll of 140%. And finally, Disciplined is a pretty good talent, but not really on an SVD. It's really better for a bolt action marksman rifle that focuses on those big hits. So while this may look like a really great weapon, I would actually recommend giving this one a pass. There's also an extended magazine here that's rolled magazine size at 110%. Maximum roll on this is actually 124%, so it's not particularly great. It's got reload speed and critical hit damage. It might be an upgrade for you, but I doubt it. Still, there it is if you need it. At the 5th Avenue DZ checkpoint, there's a military MK46 here. It's got self-preserved, brutal, and accurate. I would strongly recommend rolling accurate away. This thing becomes very accurate over time, automatically without any accuracy mods, in fact, or any talents. So just roll that away and you get a free 3rd slot talent in there as you please. Self-preserve doesn't really synergize particularly well with this, given you don't usually stack crit with an MK46. Brutal is, of course, excellent. So it's not too bad at all. At the West 31st Street DZ checkpoint, there's a pair of operator gloves here that are Savage. It's got base stamina, Savage, health on kill, crit hit chance, and LMG damage. Not a bad combination at all. Probably want to use these with an LMG in the sense that like you maybe want to roll away that health on kill. That's probably the weakest stat there. So if you're an LMG focused player, cool. Otherwise you could of course roll away the LMG and keep that health on kill. I just think that the way this roll is set up, it's definitely best for people who are already focused on LMG damage. At the West 53rd Street DZ checkpoint, you're going to find a prototype performance mod here with 6% first aid self-heal. Fairly good roll on a very useful mod, especially if you are running solo. At the DZ6 Safehouse, the one that sells the gear sets, there's a really nice Striker's mask here. It has damage to elites and enemy armor damage on it, which is kind of exactly what you want. And obviously it rolls with electronics, so you can just change that to either firearms or stamina at your leisure. There's an AlphaBridge chest here, which is also really well rolled. It's got armor, ammo capacity, fantastic. Base stamina, very helpful. And it's also got protection from elites, which is really a very efficient stat if you're doing a lot of PvE. You may want to change that away to something else, though. It's up to you, but it's a really nice, really well-rolled chest piece. There's a Banshee Shadow holster here. It's got okay rolls on it, but it rolls with base armor, which is nice. So it means you could probably re-roll, say, for example, this stamina roll, which is on the low side. You could bump that up a little bit. And finally, there's a pair of Reclaimer gloves that has base firearms, health on kill, LMG damage, and damage to elites. Not a bad combination at all. Allows you to recalibrate it as you please. At the DZ5 vendor, the one that sells weapon mods, the only thing I'd point to here is the Handstop Foliage Green. It's got reload speed in the base there, stability and optimal range. This is really fantastic for things like an M60 or an M249 Bravo. Those belt-fed LMGs have very long reload times, and this is pretty much the best underbarrel mod that you can put on those weapon types. At the DZ4 Safehouse, the only thing worth buying here is a prototype performance mod, Ballistic Shield Health. Again, not required for PvE. Your shield already has enough health, but if you're using it in PvP, you may find it useful. At the DZ3 vendor, those of you that are running electronics focused builds might be interested in this Police MK17 marksman rifle. It has 169% headshot damage, which is very nice. It's got Competent, which obviously synergizes very well with electronics focused builds. It's got Cool Headed, which is like the best talent that you can get for electronics focused builds, and it also has Accurate in that 3rd slot. Accuracy is very important on an MK17. The very high rate of fire will give you lots of reticle bloom. You do need to mod them for accuracy. You do need to have hopefully Accurate as a talent to sort of keep your throughput up. This is actually a very, very, very good weapon if you are running like Tactician or Reclaimer or anything that's stacking a lot of electronics. So do check that one out. The last one here is the Military M60E4. It's got self-preserved, sustained, and deadly. I would roll deadly away for something else. After that, though, it's a really nice sustained focus weapon with self-preserve and sustained, giving you lots of health and lots of healing as you're firing. And that's it, guys. That's the weekly vendor reset video down. Tomorrow I'm going to be releasing my part 1 of my defense gear set build. The whole build is there, but I'm going to do a review of the set after that. It's a separate video. The release of Survival on PS4 is going to be exciting. That's coming up on Tuesday, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of coverage of that as well as a bit of a giveaway. And then obviously we're hopefully going to have a State of the Game coming up on Thursday as well in the lead up to Christmas. Guys, I hope you had a fantastic week, and I hope next week is even better for you. Thanks very much for watching the video. If you liked it, drop it a like. Be sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.